Well, 2014 is pretty much over by the time this will be up, and I gotta say, it was definitely one of my most favorite years for gaming in quite some time. There are a lot of releases, and fortunately a lot of them staggered till the end of the year, as they usually are, because that's the time that people will be buying presents, and they want to try to show off all these games, the deadlines for award shows, etc., etc., and whether it be for legitimate reasons or competitive reasons, they push it and whatever. They come out at the same time and everyone's broke and all that good stuff. Before I start all this, I do have a few disclaimers and the fact that there's a few games that you may question why I got so hype about but aren't going to be on this list, and there are reasons that they aren't. One of the first ones I'm going to mention, first two actually, is Bravely Default and Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. The reason both of these are not going to be in the list, although they well deserved to be, and I would definitely put them if they were contenders, is the fact that they've actually been out in Japan for much, much longer. So technically, they aren't games that came out in 2014. And this is my top games that came out in 2014. And although they did just come out here stateside, that's not really fair because you can nitpick and go through games that just came out this year that have been out or re-releases, remastered, whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and unfortunately ignore those two. Even though my initial top three I posted contained Danganronpa, that is technically not fair by those means. Another one that's not gonna make the list that probably would have is Persona Q. That one I actually just picked up prior to recording this. I had not had any time to play this. I'm sure it's gonna be a great game, but I'm not going to review a game I haven't at least had a little bit of hands-on time with. So with that being mentioned, I have a few honorable mentions I also want to throw in, which is the new Strider game was really good, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was awesome, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is not just an overglorified demo. For those of you who actually played it, you know there's lots of replayability and a lot of cool little mission modes and stuff that really ramps up the nostalgia factor and definitely get your bang for your buck. And Kiefer Sutherland did an amazing job, and this just gets me really hyped for Phantom Pain, and the fact that you're going to get items to carry over for playing it is really cool. Other games that came out, like Goat Simulator, which has an awesome MMO mode now, which is actually really good. Mercenary Kings, which has brought games like Metal Slug back into the scene of relevance, and that's a PS4 game you guys should definitely check out. Child of Light was really good. Wolfenstein: The New Order, Mario Kart 8. The list goes on, and it was a really, really, really good year for games, including Forza Horizon 2, which almost made the list, but after the final cut, I decided to go ahead and get rid of. Alright then, so now that that's all out of the way, let's get to the top 10 list, starting with, of course, number 10 on my list, Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's was a very interesting game because it took minimal animation, minimal, just not really design, but it was very simplistic, is the best way to put it. The way that the concept of this management control with the lights, the doors, and having all the creatures kind of come at you at different times, really just scaring the crap out of you when it came through because you were so invested in surviving. It was an actual, in a way, survival horror game. Obviously not in the traditional sense of Resident Evil or Silent Hill or anything, but it really made you think, it made you use things sparingly. One thing I did not like, however, is how quickly a sequel would ride the money train and come out just a month, if even after the initial release of Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is even better, don't get me wrong, it's scary, it's more polished, but Five Nights at Freddy's was a paid game already, so if that had been free and then maybe charged for 2, very much in what Slender did, I think that would have been a much better model for the game, and I think that it also would have let it seem a little less obvious that they're trying to ride the coattails of themselves just shortly after the successes hit the market. That being said, though, the game is a very good horror game. It's one of the first ones I've been genuinely scared and did not have to ham it up at all when it comes to playing it because the game is very tense. It plays on using somewhat of a Weeping Angels type effect of that you look and it's not there type thing, except for the fact that you're looking at it as a security camera, so you kind of are, and it's kind of like a forced blink mechanic, but it's really good, though. The characters themselves by design aren't necessarily scary, it's more so what they do. the little quirks that they throw in when you have the little animations that you do have. I don't really spoil what happens. You should play it. And I'm sure many of you who are listening to this, watching this, have already played it by now. But if you haven't, you definitely owe it to yourself to do so. It doesn't have high PC requirements, and it's very cheap. I believe it's $4, $5 for the first one, and I think $7 or $8 for the second one, which is really good. Second one ramps up the difficulty. The scares are even like crazier because the animating is a lot better, and it's just all around a really good game. So taking the number 10 spot is Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2 because I feel they just came out too close to be considered two fully separate entities. It was made it more seem like Five Nights at Freddy's was a demo, and Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was the full-blown release, because that's just quality-wise how it did seem, whether or not that was the intention. Flying in at number 9 on my list is Alien Isolation. As many of you all know, despite the fact that the game scares the crap out of me, Outlast is definitely one of my favorite horror games to ever come out, because it really perfected the sense of survival horror without being able to fight back. True survival in the sense of being a regular person without these outstanding abilities or weaponry, and really just making it through the entire campaign scared out of your mind with, again, minimal resources, and just using your wits and solving the kind of puzzles that get in your way as you do it to get the game done. But this isn't Outlast, this is Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is clearly, if they say it isn't, I would have to call them liars, because it is clearly influenced by Outlast. From, not that hiding in the locker mechanics unique. I mean, obviously you could do that in Metal Gear and stuff like that, but the whole feel of going around, using your little devices to distract the xenomorphs and everything, and the storyline was well interwoven to the fact that I don't remember exactly, the developer said it's going to be canon for sure, but it could easily have been canon. The original cast from Alien does a really awesome prologue DLC that I highly suggest checking out because it is done so well. And the cool thing about the game's design overall is the fact that they designed it as if it had come out very near the release of the initial movie, from the old screen and monitors and computer and radio designs and everything looking so outdated as if it is an older movie, where they thought what would look futuristic obviously ended up being nothing like what they imagined. That's really cool because it brings you into that whole alien universe and just throws you into that world. It's done very well, done very convincingly, and there are a lot of good scares, again, taking that element where you aren't able to really defend yourself other than the tools that you're given to distract them or find ways around. It makes you think on your feet, and I really like the cleverness of games like that, where it's just not bam bam blow them the fuck away type things, and it requires you to utilize your brain when you're playing it. And I think that's really cool, and that is why I have Alien Isolation here at number 9. At number 8 on my list is PT, the Silent Hill demo. PT was a very interesting game, and as you'll see, it seems the first 3 games in my top 10 are all horror games. I don't know what it is, but horror's just been a big thing lately as far as video games go, and PT is just the creme de la crop of just what it is to be scared out of your mind and literally want to shit yourself due to the fear. The PT demo, when it was initially released, Vincent and I saw and did not have any idea what it was. We just booted it up. It looked like a very good, scary game. I mean, it was clearly supposed to be a horror game based on the little artwork that it had as the thumbnail. But other than that, there wasn't much known about it. When it was revealed that it was the Silent Hills demo, the brand new Silent Hill game coming out, it was very, very obvious that despite the first-person perspective and the fact that it was all puzzles and there wasn't really any clear conflict or any of the traditional Silent Hill tropes, it still felt Silent Hill horror, psychological, scary. And so, with that being said, it was a very good game despite being a free demo. It makes me very curious as to see what the full game's gonna be like and all that, but that's for another time. As far as PT's concerned, it is full-on in-your-face horror. From the first person's perspective, really drives home being immersed. And with we played it on PS4. I think it's also available on Xbox One, and I'm not sure if it's available in any other format. But what I do know is the graphics were incredible. The pacing of the scares were very good. The all-around atmosphere was good. The sound engineering, everything was wrapped together in this nice, awesomely presented package, and amazing for a free game. But I mean, its publicity, it did really well. My only real gripes from it were the fact that the puzzles were very, very ambiguous, to the point where people almost have to use guides to beat it. Clearly, there were some people who didn't, I'm sure, but most people will either have had to have played it with someone there that knew what they were doing, or search that very elaborate guide on, I believe it was IGN, I think. So that's my only real concern, is the fact that it was very, very obscure at some points, and very confusing, and very particular in the amount of steps you have to take to trigger the next scare, going to a particular item and examining it at a certain time, things like this. But it really makes me excited for it, as long as it goes a little bit more back to the traditional Silent Hill thing, keeping that kind of horror atmosphere that was in the demo, with a little bit of that puzzle too, but making it a little more direct, to the point where it won't stonewall the player into getting stuck simply because it's not just genuinely hard, it's stupidly hard, where it doesn't give the player any clue at all. And I'm not talking about any shiny power-ups or any crap like that. I'm just talking about the fact of hinting, jesting, using light to make them look at something at a certain time, at a certain point. Not, hey, big prompt of text, do this, but at least make it clear what you're supposed to be doing, because that was definitely not done very well in the demo, and if that was intentional, good job, but at the same time, it also made it hard to enjoy, unless, of course, you knew you were doing. And, of course, if you beat it, you get treated with a nice little cutscene that kind of teases you into the upcoming Silent Hill game, directed by Kojima, and I believe Guillermo del Toro had something to do with it, and, of course, Norman Reedus is going to be starring in it, so it'll be a very interesting, more cinematic style, Kojima-style thing, but we'll see how it ends up. But even for a demo, those usually, first of all, don't even come out anymore. But on top of that, they barely make people's top 10s list, and it has made a few people's top 10 lists, and it definitely made mine, because that is the scariest game, easily the scariest game I've ever played. And if you haven't checked it out, you should. You probably shouldn't, but you should. Definitely check out PT and scare yourself. Play it in the dark, play it with a good surround sound system, and you'll get that experience that I did. Number 7 on my list is Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. And the thing with Guilty Gear Xrd Sign is the fact that finally we don't get another BlazBlue, whatever. We get another proper Guilty Gear game, thanks to the beta testing for the fine folks who are BlazBlue fans. Now that half of you have stopped watching because of the fact that I insulted BlazBlue, those of you who are worthy to listen to the rest of this list will definitely agree that Guilty Gear Xrd lived up to the hype. Now, there were a few people who didn't care for the fact that it followed Overture and kept that canon, or that they changed the way Amelia Rage looked and gave her that hat. Whatever. It's still a really good game. The animation is fluid as hell, despite the fact that I sometimes think it looks a bit weird, but I guess that's just stylistic when it moves kind of janky. I guess that's just part of it, but it still looks great. It's phenomenal looking, and the voice acting's a bit weird. I mentioned in our Let's Play the demo that it is a bit generic, I guess is the way to put it. It's very what you'd expect anime style type voices. The voice acting is nothing crazy good, but it works. It's in English, and let's face it, we're all really just excited to be able to play another smooth game. ArcSys really knocks it out of the park whenever they make a fighting game, whether it be the Fist of the North Star game, Persona 4 Arena, or anything like that. They just all around understand good game mechanics and are just able to really draw you in with just smooth gameplay, and everything about the game is just so well polished, so well done. It definitely gets the Daisuke Ishiwatari seal of approval. I still don't get the argument that it only would have ran well on PS4, because I personally think the game is nothing to the point of not being able to run on the Xbox One. But whatever. I mean, clearly it was just an exclusivity thing, and Xbox One already having Killer Instinct, they didn't really need to pick up another fighting game, killer app, until probably Street Fighter comes out. They might want something to compete with that as well. But other than that, Guilty Gear Xrd is another great addition to the series. There's clearly a lot of DLC being planned for it. As of the time of this being recorded, there was a new color palette pack that came out. You can get Elephant, one of the new characters, I said her name super wrong. I keep wanting to call her Elephant Lady. I might as well, just because I keep fucking her name up anyways. But Elephant. And you can play her. There's going to be another new character released soon, and we don't know how many variations there are. Maybe costume packs are going to come out and everything. So there's not much to say. I mean, it's just another good Guilty Gear game, and that means a lot. Just another good Guilty Gear game means top quality action, top quality controls, top quality animation, and, you know, despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of the anime, you know, kind of like genericisms of it, it works for what it is. I mean, it's an anime 2D fighter. What are you going to do? You can't really change it. I mean, that would be stupid because that would make it a whole nother thing. But anyways, you should definitely pick up this game. If you like fighting games, even if you know nothing about the Guilty Gear storyline or anything. I mean, I'm not even really a pro at it. I just know the basics for the most part. I just like to play the games because they're, well, good fighting games. You owe it to yourself to pick this one up because until Street Fighter comes out, it'll pretty much come down to this, especially if you just own a PS4 and not an Xbox One and don't get to enjoy the glory that is Killer Instinct. This is definitely, in my opinion, the current Japanese fighting game that really stands up to Killer Instinct's monstrosity of perfection over in the West. But I'm going on a tangent in fighting games, and that's for another time, so let's move on to the next pick. At number 6, we have the Xbox One exclusive, Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive is a really cool game that's basically a mix of Jet Set Radio Future, a little bit of the zaniness of Crazy Taxi as well, mixing it with elements like Tony Hawk and goofy humor of Borderlands, and it's just, you know, it's a mix of many things, and it is not bad because of it. The setting introduces you to the world of Sunset City, where a bunch of douches pretty much gave everybody a really crappy energy drink, and it started to transform them into these monsters, and your main character is supposed to defeat them. One of the things that the game does that I really, really enjoy is the fact that you create your own main character, and it's literally all you. You don't have a pre-chosen name, you don't have necessarily pre-chosen style. There's tons of customization options, and I really do enjoy that. I also enjoy the fact that the game doesn't really have to take itself seriously, and because of that, it's able to do all sorts of puns. It's able to do all sorts of references to other games that they just have a lot of fun with it, and it's just goofy and not serious at all, but in a good way, where you really, it's just a feel-good game, and you want to play more of it. It's very unique, and I'm actually very saddened that it really didn't win that many awards. It's a very fun game. Is it one that one should probably buy the Xbox One over? No, but it definitely lends to a good argument of why you should get an Xbox One. But that aside, the original punk music, the whole punk feel in general, which actually hasn't been in a game other than... Oh, wait a second. They kind of did it in Infamous Second Son, that's right. But this way, though, honestly, in all seriousness, though, is done in a way that doesn't seem so force angsty. Like, I loved Infamous Second Son, don't get me wrong, but I did feel the whole punk thing was kind of taken to that level of cheesy punk, the kind of thing that you see in mainstream films where they clearly don't understand, like, the punk scene, but they kind of think they do, so they make these stereotypes. Or like in Beyond Two Shits, by David Cage game. But anyways, getting back to talking about a good game, Sunset Overdrive is definitely the type of game where the mix of the humor, the fun gameplay, the surprisingly responsive controls, though not perfect, work out really well. The voice acting and the story is done well enough that you care about the characters and want to play more. It's nothing rich, it's not going to make you cry or anything, but it's definitely reels you in enough to get into the universe that is Sunset City, and you have a lot of fun with it. The replayability is incredible, and if you have some friends, the squad mode where you play online and just try to get different objectives, different scores, you kind of go through the different game modes for multiplayer at random, or team vote more like it, but it depends on whether or not you're playing with randoms or not. It's a lot of fun, and I would definitely suggest this for those who are at least considering an Xbox One or do have one, it's definitely a game to get, and one of the best arguments that Xbox One has to date. Coming in at number 5 is Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. I wasn't a big fan of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS just because I felt the control style restraint. It worked well for a mobile game, I give it that much, but I just didn't feel like it felt like a proper Smash game. It was not really necessary in my opinion of a release, but the fact that it's out, it's fine, I guess. Anyways, the perfected version of it would be Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. A lot of people were quick to say that the game was a proper successor to Melee, which it's definitely more of a proper successor than Brawl. I think it'll still take time to tell whether or not it really is at the legendary caliber of Melee, but I think nostalgia is also on the side of Melee, along with people who also like to play Fixed Brawl, aka Project M, so we'll see. What I do like about Smash is the visuals are great. The gameplay plays like a Smash game, and it's not the type of thing where you return to a game and you're like, oh god, this again. Of course not, because when you get used to a mechanic in a game, especially a fighting game, you kind of want to be able to jump in and play your characters again. Now, there were a lot of overhauls, a lot of changes to characters, but for the most part, you can know the basics, jump in, and quickly relearn some of the characters that you really enjoy playing, as well as maybe learning a few new characters while you're at it. The character additions that were added, like Lil Mac and the Wii Fit Trainer and stuff like that, are really cool additions. I really like the characters they did add. It has the fighting game plague of removing characters, which I personally wish that fighting games would just build upon their rosters. I know it's more work and I understand it's harder, but if you're going to put a character in, try to do it with the mindset of possibly someone might want to main them. I mean, it's not really fair for people who probably want to learn this character and then in the next game are screwed over because they're completely removed. So, that being said, the game itself is a lot of fun. It's a great party game, and the inclusion of 8-player Smash is a good one. A lot of people who haven't played it yet think, oh, 8-player Smash is too much. No. It is too much, but in a good way, where the chaos is just enough chaos, where everything's going crazy on the screen, and you have a hard time keeping track on yourself, but you have a lot of fun. The board game mode is a bit weird. I forgot what the exact name of it is, but that one's a bit weird, but once you get the hang of it, it's not so bad. It's stupid, and you probably don't really want to play it more than the, basic mode, but whatever. It's there, I guess. But overall, it's a great new game. The roster is sizable enough. A lot of the characters I like to play are back again. I really like the fact that they split Zero Suit Samus and Sheik as their own characters with their own perks and stuff like that, instead of having to do these crazy things to get to them, or let me just say, not tactically efficient things to get to them. But it's definitely worth getting, and one of the best games to come out on Wii U. But there's already a big list of that, so why, if you haven't got a Wii already, and this isn't even like in the hipster sense, you really should by now. I admit, at the very beginning, there probably wasn't much incentive to, but now there's more than enough argument to get a Wii U, especially since it's the cheapest of the current gen consoles as well. If you don't really want to drop too much money into the next gen, Smash Brothers for the Wii U is a very good incentive to start, at least with the Wii U. Of course, you got Wonderful 101, and then the list goes on, and I would probably go on forever. So, let's move on to the next pick. At number 4 on my list is Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is a great multi-platform game that is soon to come out on the PlayStation 4, so everyone could enjoy it on there with a special little boss battle, and I don't know what other things they might add in that version. But let's talk about the one I enjoyed, which was, I played it on Wii U, which in my opinion is the most appropriate version because it's a real throwback to true, like, NES games in that time period. It's a real cool mix of your typical action game platforming as far as like games like Mega Man, or it's like a mix of like Mega Man, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, things like that, where it kind of blends all those little elements together and makes a game that clearly can stand on its own against even those massive titles I just mentioned. It's really cool design and the unique element of using the shovel to either dig up stuff, and the fact that it's this weapon. It even has a homage to DuckTales, the original DuckTales game, being able to pogo jump on your shovel to get to higher areas and, you know, utilize kind of things like that. It's a good mix of difficulty, but it's the type of thing where despite the game can be difficult sometimes, it makes you want to finish it, want to get better, want to get farther. There were some areas in that game that I played over and over again until I wanted to tear my hair out and didn't want to quit though. I just kept doing it over and over again, and that's very rare because I can easily rage quit a game if it pisses me off enough times. But Shovel Knight, despite that, has such appeal that it kept drawing me back, and I would not even take a break or drop the controller. I would just keep trying it over and over again because I knew that I would eventually get this, because Shovel Knight is one bad motherfucker. And it won Indie Game of the Year, I believe, is what it won at the Video Game Awards, and I think it's well deserving of that because it's not just a really good indie game, it's definitely one of the best games to come out in quite some time because it's not just a tribute, it's a full-fledged, awesome game in and of itself. At number 3 on my list is D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die, which is currently available as an exclusive on the Xbox One. Now, what can I say about this game other than the fact that it's by Swery, who has literally the game that set the record for most polar response in a video game with Deadly Premonition with such high and low ratings, and I love that game. So, of course, naturally I was excited when D4 was initially announced. Now, the thing with D4 is it's an episodic, or, excuse me, it's going to be by, it is episodic, but it's going to be by seasons, very similar to a lot of Telltale games and how Resident Evil Revelations 2 is going to be released, and it's not so bad. I'm just a little afraid that it's not going to reach its funding to get a sequel, not because it's a bad game, but because it was very underpromoted. Even I, who was highly anticipating this title, didn't even know it came out until days before it was released. It just came out of nowhere, and whether or not that's Swery's quirk, unfortunately, that can kind of hurt him, and, you know, I just hope that it doesn't. And with it being the free title for Xbox One in January, I hope a lot of people pick it up, and although they won't end up buying it that way, support it at least in some way or form, maybe even just by downloads, so that way they can get the next season off the ground, because oh my god, the ending of Season 1. So, what is it that I like about this game? Its weirdness? Yes. Its story? Yes. The fact that its story doesn't make much sense, but you're still really intrigued because it's also very interesting? Yes. I love the character development, I love the voice acting, I think the animation style is really cool with a mix of cell-shading and 3D. The Kinect actually functions with it. I know it's very rare, but this game to me is actually surprisingly enjoyable playing it with the Kinect. The controls for the most part are pretty responsive if you have your Kinect calibrated properly, and it just adds to that fun of investigating and controlling everything physically, kind of like with your body moving around and stuff. It's actually done really cool using speech and everything else. The game is not for everybody, I understand this, but I would say anybody who enjoys just good video games and good storytelling in general should really, really give it a chance, because this is one of those games I really do feel that if you do not have an Xbox One, you're actually missing out on a big experience. And I know it has Killer Instinct, and I know it has Scalebound going to come out soon. Well, not soon, I wish. Eventually. And it also has Sunset Overdrive, and, you know, it has titles to hold on its own. But the thing is, with D4, D4 is just so unique, so cool. It's just awesome. And, you know, if you know anyone who owns an Xbox One, tell them to get it, or just wait till January and have them get it, and just enjoy it. You won't regret it, I promise.
Passenger list?
At number 2 on my list is Dragon Age Inquisition. But it won Game of the Year, you might say. Well, that's all good, and believe me, it is an amazing game, but I will make my argument in the next segment of this video. As far as Dragon Age Inquisition goes, though, boy, what an epic game. Like, literally, you can pour hours into this, and it's not a JRPG that just forces you to grind. Now, I do enjoy that, and believe me, I like my JRPGs, but I really do like how Dragon Age Inquisition really takes you on this epic journey and has all these side quests and stuff that at some points it forces you to do, but you don't feel forced. It's a very well thought out game that, despite its weird technical bits with like people sliding around or your party members constantly running into walls or doing dumb stuff for absolutely no real reason. The game is just very good. I love the usual Dragon Age signature, BioWare signature, really. Characters, the voice acting, the whole... They bring a little bit of more action-y type controlling to it, using the trigger to attack and stuff, but it's not done distastefully or bad at all. It's really good. It's an actual proper sequel to Dragon Age Origins as far as I'm concerned, because I wasn't the biggest fan of 2, but it definitely takes the first 2 into canon and does that really well. I can't talk about the plot too much when it gets really good without spoiling anything, but if you love Dragon Age, you will definitely love this game because it just draws from all the elements of what makes Dragon Age good and wraps it on the one big package and makes it even better. It's easily the best game in the franchise by a mile, and anyone who loves an RPG with epic storytelling, cinema quality type visuals, and just an all-around likable cast that you want to learn and know more about, where conversations don't bore you because you have to have them with some characters, this is definitely the game for you, and it's well deserving a Game of the Year. It's just not my Game of the Year, but obviously it's a lot of people's, and I think it definitely deserves the respect it's garnered. And what tops the #1 spot on my top 10 list of games of 2014? Surprise, surprise, it's Platinum Games' Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 is a sequel a lot of people didn't think was going to happen because it had been pitched to Microsoft and Sony initially, and neither of which had any interest in doing it whatsoever. Now, the first Bayonetta is by no means perfect. It had a lot of polishing issues when it first came out, but it was overall a really good game and just signs of what Platinum Games was going to do. Being the ex-Capcom employees that they are, having wanted to move on to a company that would continue a seal of quality as Capcom started to drop prior to their departure, they really wanted to take Devil May Cry and make it even more epic, as if anyone thought that was possible. Bayonetta 2 is a proper sequel and a well-built one, where it didn't seem rushed at all. Because of the delays, it shows you that when you take your time with a video game, it can become really, really good. The polishedness of it is way, way, way better than the first one. The humor, the writing, everything is just there. It's quality Platinum, it's quality Bayonetta style like things. I mean, it's everything you expected from a Bayonetta sequel and then some. It just fits the character really well. I love the redesigns of Bayonetta and Jean and the rest of the Ezio and the rest of the cast. I just said Ezio. I fucking wish, but Enzo and Rodan and everything. So it's really, really good. It came with the first enhanced port of the first Bayonetta, and the cool thing is Nintendo and Platinum's collaboration took it to that next level where they added Nintendo costumes, but they're not just costumes. The sound effects change, the aesthetics of our attacks change. It's really cool. There was a review that said that Bayonetta 2 is the type of game that you can play for a long, long time because it's easy to get into, but it's tough to master. There's all sorts of elaborate combo lists and everything, and it just puts character action games like God of War to shame because Platinum Games just knows how to build a very good game from the ground up, and they did that with Bayonetta 2. And, you know, it's just leagues beyond its predecessor. As much as I love Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2 just knocks it out of the park as far as a good video game as a whole goes. From the right amount of difficulty, normal, they did kind of amp it down a bit, but you can always do the harder difficulty for those who want a true Platinum-style challenge. And they just did a great job. The plot was very interesting, despite being very nonsensical like many Platinum Games plots are, but hey, that's just the appeal of them. The oddities of it is really what draws you into it, and the world was just well crafted. The visuals, the cinematics were really well done, the boss fights were epic as ever. The villains, both the demons and the angels, were just really, really, really well designed, and they're very cool in attacks and all that stuff. And I just had a blast playing it, and to me, it easily tops any of my experiences because a lot of these games, the sequels at least, or the well-anticipated games, all lived up to the hype on my top 10 list, but nothing quite did it for me the way that Bayonetta 2 really was a big sigh of relief, that it blew away my expectations and, you know, put me on this higher plateau of standards. I already have that Platinum Games standard where there's a lot of games I just can't get into because I'm so used to Platinum Games making a perfect game, that Bayonetta showed that you can go beyond, or Bayonetta 2 rather, showed that you can go beyond perfect, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think that everyone who dislikes it just because it's on the Wii U is an idiot, simply because it's a good game. It doesn't matter what platform it's on. This is the console war thing. Just needs to stop. I mean, you know, maybe that was kind of funny in high school, but a lot of us now are, you know, reaching our 30s, or maybe I'm just an old shit. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's all about going back to what made this game in the first place, of just playing good games regardless of what platform they're on. That's the thing about it. And with Bayonetta 2 being a Wii exclusive, it's another game that I can definitely suggest you get a Wii U for. It's a lot of fun, and again, like a lot of Platinum games, not for everyone, but if you just enjoy a good game, you enjoy an intriguing enough story, and you love the beautiful visuals and smooth, silky 60 frames, 1080 glow of next gen, you will, or current gen rather, unless you're a PC Master Race, yada yada yada, which is good and all, but, you know, this is, there honestly weren't that many PC exclusive games that came out this year that really blew my dick off. So, amazingly enough, this was definitely a good comeback year for the consoles. These consoles have a lot of great potential, despite the fact that they have the innards of a quote-unquote lower-ranking PC nowadays. The fact that they're gaming-focused, and this is just the first year coming to a close of next-gen gaming, I can only be excited for what lies ahead of us. And so 2015, I tell you, bring it on and let us see what the best games you will bring us are.